Hey, welcome everyone. So for the board members and our guests, both online and in person. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to go ahead and get started on our board meeting for today. So I will now call this regular meeting to order. Please join me as we I believe which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have our agenda before us. If there are any changes, it would into the motion.
I'll move the motion to accept the agenda as it was presented.
Is there a second? I second it. Is there discussion, questions on the agenda? All in favor of adopting the agenda as presented?
Aye.
Thank you. So moving on to the first item on the agenda is public comment. We did not. We didn't. And our next item is the reports for board reports. And let's hear how our board members, how we've moved our district mission forward. So anybody would like to share?
I could start, and to moving the district, moving the mission forward. I think it's one of those things that stuck around. I think this board and this district is moving the mission forward. That was and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that was a saying under Superintendent Bill Rhodes. And ever since superintendency, it's always just been like a slogan of kind of the board of the district is moving the mission forward, no matter who's been in the superintendent role. So I mean, you said that, so it just reminds me of the work that we do, or the work that this district does. In terms of my board report, I attended the jogathon at Washington Elementary School a couple of weeks ago now. I don't remember what day it was. And it was great. It was great to see the kids running and high-fiving. And I watched a kindergarten and a first grade classroom, and it was awesome seeing. There was a handful of parents there, and it was a PE classroom, and then but they went with their kindergarten group, and counting how many kids did, how much laps they're able to do and stuff. And it got me wondering, and maybe this could be another topic, but like all the funds went towards providing new equipment for the PE class, new balls, new equipment. And I was out there, and some of these basketballs were like torn apart. It's great that we could fundraise for these things, but at the same time, it makes me wonder, like, well, what is? I mean, as a board, we talk very high level about budgeting, right? But we have yet to really get at the building level. Like, what does building autonomy look like when it comes to budgeting? How much flexibility do they have? How do we empower our educators to invest in? How can we help them, right? Like, I guess it just got the gears thinking, but it was a great opportunity. I really enjoyed the time.
Thanks for sharing.
For me, it's been a couple of events outside Woodburn, but also how do we improve many other things in our area as well. I attended a conference called Conectate. It's all about Indigenous communities and Latinx communities in Eastern Oregon. It's usually held at a community college, and how from east to southern Oregon, we have males dropping off, not going to higher education. So that was the theme. And so how that affects us here in the Mid-Willamette Valley as well. I also, as many of you know, I do capacity building for Latinx, Spanish speaking communities. So we do capacity building in terms of how people can get involved in coming and sitting a district school board district meeting. How many minutes do we have to present before a board, etc. And then last Friday, many of us were at the Cipriano Ferrer Education Center. It was for other meetings, but how do we get involved with what's going on at Cipriano Ferrer Education Center with the pre-K education with the children and the teachers there.
So I was helped the homecoming parade. Prepared the clothes, whoops, and then was part of the parade and then attended a preschool open house. And then, of course, we were here yesterday for the dual language committee meeting. So kind of various areas. And so got to see lots of administrative and then get involved with the kids and hands-on, and because they need to help preparing their parades. So that was fun.
I was able to do a school visit out at Nellie a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty interesting. It was really cool to see, just to kind of be in the shadows, just watching, and you know, like Anthony, I was able to play soccer with the kids. I was the goalie, and so I don't know if they liked me or not, because it was pretty hard, but you know, that was pretty fun just to interact with the kids and have, you know, it's that level and just kind of see things. I think I kind of explained what I observed in regards to the nonverbal student and how that worked out with the staff. You know, the student is, you know, first grade, I believe, just sitting on the steps, not responding, and to see one of the staff come up, just kind of, hey, you know, so and so, and kind of showed the card. He's like, oh, and issue resolved. Or I don't say issue, but you know, just to see how he reacted and how he responded, how the teachers interacted with that child in that circumstance. And you know, and everybody's just pretty open, welcoming. So that was really cool to see, just kind of sit back and watch the workings of the school day. I've gone to every single French Prairie soccer game. You know, this will be the first time in 10 years that they're going to be undefeated. They win tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last game, so that's pretty excited. So those are fun to watch, you know, and following boys, the soccer team, and so getting ready to set up another school visit here soon and get that taken care of. So.
And then for me, I have also attended a few school visits with Superintendent Barrios. There was a soccer game after the last school board meeting, which was interesting. It was a good game. I think they're undefeated still.
Which team is not defeated, but they are ranked #1 still.
Or they played against the #1 ranking team, I think.
Yes, last year's state championship
Yes.
team. We came out on top.
Mhm. Also, I attended French Prairie and Dallas parent night that they had last week, which was quite interesting. I need to see a lot of parents have questions and be involved. Attended Friday's event at Cipriano's, and Laura was recognized for her participation and involvement in the community and classes she's done. So that was neat to see. Nice. Thank you everyone for sharing. So next we're moving on to the superintendent, the office of the superintendent, and so Superintendent Barrios.
So this evening, we're going to be hearing from 2 departments, where we're sharing a little bit about what we're doing to move the mission forward a little bit deeper. It's what the strategic plan and some goals and objectives, and how we're organizing ourselves at the department level and the abilities to achieve some of those goals and objectives. And one of those that will here that they emphasize the parent engagement and the work to organize that event that Chair Benassi attended on Thursday. So I want to invite up our first department, title special programs.
Chairs. Alright. So. So there's quite a bit of extra information here that I know we're not gonna focus on tonight, but it gives a little bit of the scope of what title and special programs involve, so. While it's a singular department, it involves multiple programs that. It incorporates multiple programs, multiple grants. But many of them are really focused on parent engagement. So. Again, you've got a little bit of information about the number of students and staff who are involved in some of the big programs. Your big interest, my understanding though, is about how our department is really involved in moving forward the goals of the Woodburn School District Strategic Plan. So the two goals that we're focusing on were all around fostering a culture of engagement and partnerships. And specifically, one of the identified outcomes for the district-wide plan is to engage and collaborate with families and community members to meaningfully support social, emotional, and educational growth of students. And so we then developed a departmental goal that a minimum of 500 parents, caregivers, and community members will participate in either department-sponsored capacity building programs that support social, emotional, and educational growth of students. So there's two roles that we play. You'll hear directly about some of the direct services that we offer as far as programs for parents. We also provide supports to the schools in things like developing their Title I school-wide plans, their parent engagement plans, and offering support when a school is doing a school-specific initiative. But I think my colleagues, you want to talk a little bit about what I think now you're probably asking. Sure, first. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I am the migrant coordinator for the district, but last year I was working for the district under the capacity of being the parent involvement specialist. And our collaboration efforts with other entities have always been at the front line to ensure we reach Woodburn parents and the rest of the community. In addition to the regular events that the parent engagement specialist has every year, 8 events are geared to the migrant families in areas of math, reading, pre-K, middle school, and graduation. We also have events for everybody, everyone, like El Día del Niño, our distribution of resources like food boxes, books, and clothes, in addition to information where we partner with other institutions to provide information to our communities. So we partner with Shemequera, we partner with Families Building Blocks, and so we have like a special, something that you could probably call as a fair where they come, and we also have resources for the families. We work very closely also with the DPAC, which is the District Parent Advisory Committee, whose community participation and leadership provided us with 2 of our parents being honored by ODE this year as the Parents of the Year, Mr. Jose Hernandez and Mrs. Karen Diaz. In addition to that, we receive our high school student, Belén Mendoza Cortez, received the honor as being the Student of the Year by ODE. So we have 2 new parent involvement specialists who will be working with the schools to help support the achievement of the parent involvement strategic plan. Mrs. Diana Tapia will be collaborating with French Ferry Middle School, Lincoln, and Washington Elementary, while Mrs. Lucia Garcia will collaborate with Valor Middle School, Nellie Muir, and Heritage Elementary. And we also have Natalia POC stuff, I'm sorry, I probably killed that one, as parent involvement specialist for the Russian strand. So we are working collaboratively to not only do things at district level, but we're also there in the different schools to support the schools to provide parents with those needs that they have. And some of the areas that parents have requested support are technology, help navigating a foreign school system for most of them, and also mental health. So providing them with maybe events where we can bring somebody else in to talk to, how to navigate the system, or to also just give them information on how to deal with issues if their kids are having problems at school or anything like that. So providing them with the tools for that.
So have we had a mental health event?
We, not this year, but last year we did. And we also had FAMU, which I'm supposed to be there today, starting today. And so the Family University, we had 101 families has registered. We're gonna be providing English at initial, advanced, Rosetta Stone, literacy classes for the families that need more of that, reading and writing in Spanish. We're gonna have citizenship and also technology classes and Zumba. The families come together. It's required that the families in the community come with their kids. While the parents are developing some skills, the students are also reinforcing math and reading. And then we have other activities that are a little bit more fun. Last year, we did an event at FAMU at the end of the system. So like now we're starting today, October 24th, we'll go through the 7th of December. And we have what we call a symposium. And at that time, we bring talk speakers to come and talk to the community. Last year, we had 4 events, 2 at Christmas, and what we had somebody to come and talk to them about mental health issues, how to deal with that. And we also had, I think, one of the officers come and talk to the parents. The second term, which is January through March, we have partnered with Oregon State University, who brought parenting classes for the parents. And we also had, we partner with Special Ed, and they provided us with a speaker that came and talked to the parents of special kids, students. So to help them kind of figure out, sometimes, it's hard once you're in it to see that some things are not quite right. So I felt that parents were very, very appreciative of those events that we provided to them.
But this is only for those who attend the FAMU,
Well, no, it's open to the whole community.
the symposiums?
Yes.
Are those part of FAMU or are those separate?
Well, we provide the events, we get them all, we schedule the events and have them all set, and then we invite the whole community to those. So it's not just the members of FAMU. Okay. Any other question?
I don't know, next. Hello, everybody. Hello.
My name's Ayana. I'm one of the assistant coordinators for the after school program, and I'm Nubei Khan. I'm one of the other assistant program coordinators of the after school program. I just wanted to add on to Nadia. So we work really closely with the instructional service department, with the Welcome Center. We work closely with Nadia. I think all the departments in the district. So the way that we like to have our staff engage in collaborating with the families is we do we're big in STEM. So I'm not sure if a lot of you guys have attended, but we do a maker party. So we get kids excited to build, invite community and students and get them excited to recycle all these items. We contact nutrition services, maintenance department. We ask everybody to keep all their boxes. And we invite all these families to come and make something. That leads up to then our STEM festivals. So it's a big science fair. We work with a committee. We're actually working with teaching and learning to kind of bring this more at the district level. So working with teachers to get the students excited in some way, aligning with maybe what they're already doing in the classroom. So we're really excited about that. We're meeting and planning all that hopefully for this year. And then that leads to Day of the Child, where we work with Nadia and the DPAC and make sure that we can get this event going. There's food for families, there's an opportunity for students to come to a science fair. Where if they want to make a volcano and have it explode, this is where they can come do it, get their families really involved. It's really neat to see families really engage with their students and be proud of the science project that they do at home or in the after school program or with their teacher. That's a sentence, sorry. And then we lead to Day of the Child. So we challenge our students to build a bridge. And we then at the Day of the Child event will put some weights and see whose bridge can hold the most weight. And then we also do a egg contraption where we invite the fire department, and then their job is to make sure that their egg can survive a 50 feet drop, 100 feet drop, 150 and so on. So we really work with our district and our community to make sure that the after school program is providing those services for those families, advertising to the parents where we get to speak to them at the end of the day. They drop off their kids and then they are with our program and we can debrief with their parents how their day went, what events are coming up and advertise. So we also work with the DPAC. In a couple of years, they go to OACE, which is the Oregon Association for Comprehensive Education Conference. A lot of these parents from the DPAC are invited. One of the things is they have their children with them, and our department has worked with the DPAC and Nadia to provide the childcare so they can attend this conference. So Lupa and I will put some activities together. We'll take our staff. We'll provide some field trips, some activities and meals for these students while their parents are attending a conference for themselves.
What's really cool about that is that it's usually held at Seaside, and so a lot of kids, these families haven't even gone to the beach or been had the opportunity. So we're gonna take them all along the coast for them to get more exposure. And Nadia's been doing a really good job that it's trying to get more families out there that haven't been able to go so that they can get that experience, and we can try to give that experience to as many families as we can. And the parents really seem to enjoy it. They do get a little bit of time without their kids and still be able to learn something that they don't always get to have that opportunity.
And then our department likes to be out in the community. It was really nice to be with Noemi and Santiago at the Fiesta Mexicana parade and just having our staff there engaged and working, being together and just representing our Woodburn School District and being able to kind of just be out there in the community. After School Club likes to be the face of the community, so we're always excited to be around our community, and our students are really happy to see us there too.
I don't know, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I just gotta say, I really admire your personality
Oh, thank you.
in regards to working with the kids. I just really want to say you were the same way at Fiesta. Just to see that, I really enjoy that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Maya, and I'm the early childhood instructional coach for our district. And the way the preschool engages or does family engagement in partnership with our department is we offer different things aside from having a full day preschool at 3 different sites and 3 different programs. We also provide other parent engagement activities such as parenting classes. We have different curriculums that we follow. Some examples are making parenting a pleasure. We also have positive solutions, and this year we have a new curriculum that we're going to be trying out that's called active parenting. All of these curriculums are geared for parents who have children about 0 to 8 years old, so it's for the younger children. But when parents do attend or parenting classes, we also ask if there's any other interests that they have, and I know that we have had some of the parents have asked for parenting classes for older students. So we are actually next month having a meeting with the principals in conjunction with the Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub. We're going to be talking about the other different curriculums that are available and hopefully expanding those parenting classes into the elementary schools. So I'm really excited about that for our next time meeting, hopefully, hoping for a very positive outcome and being able to offer those other curriculums and classes in the elementary schools. We also have another program that's called Ready for Kinder, that's also for students 0 to 5 years old, and those are parent workshops that we offer to parents in our preschool program, but also that are open to the community. We partnership with like other agencies such as OCDC and Community Action Head Start, and we invite all those families also to attend those workshops that we have. Those workshops are really engaging for families. We provide free materials, we model how to use them with their children at home, and while parents are learning those skills with a facilitator, we also provide childcare for the younger so that the parents can participate and fully be engaged in the activities with that. So it's really nice to see them participating and being able to, not just giving them the material, but being able to take all of that material out and showing them how to use it with their children. Like I said, so those are for 0 to 5 years old. Right now, we're focusing more a little bit of a 3 to 5 children, which we are working on making sure that they have a smoother transition into kindergarten and that are ready for kinder. So that is additionally, all of our teachers in the preschool work closely with the parents because they're little, so the assessment is done mainly through observations. They focus on making observations on the different areas of development, such as language, cognitive, physical, early math and literacy skills. So they are done more of as an observation based in the classroom when they're with them, but then if families have input, they're also able to provide that information to the teacher. So there's a lot of communication between the teachers also and the preschool staff. We're also a little bit lucky that, we at this point, lucky and not so lucky because our program doesn't offer transportation for any of our preschool programs. So we do get to see the families a lot more than they would be when they transition into kindergarten, because by then they have transportations, to and from school, so they don't get to see the teacher as often. So right now, I think we're a very nice spot too, where we get to see a lot of our families on a daily basis and communicate with them every day. We also, again, anything that after school club and Nadia plan, all of our families are also invited to all of those activities, such as Get El Niño and all of that. We also try to participate in our staff will prepare activities and be also visible in the community during those events.
I do have a question. Yes, thank you. So you mentioned reaching out and partnering with communities to help reach out for preschool age kiddos. Is that available for all families, or is that only for those students and their families who are connected to the preschool?
It's for the community. It's open to all the community. And within the preschool programs, we have different programs. So we have our migrant preschool program. We also have our preschool promise, which is an income-based preschool. So parents who qualify based on their income, but then we also have our Title I, which is our Russian program at Heritage, and then one classroom at the Creative Learning Center at the high school. And that is just for any families that live within the Whitman School District boundaries that don't qualify for any other preschools.
And so how do you help with families? Because there are behavior issues and mental health concerns at that age as well. And so what does that look like?
So part of it is providing those parenting classes, so like positive solutions and active parenting are really good in dealing with, or teaching parents new skills on how to deal with difficult behavior or redirected behavior in students. But then we also have through the Early Learning Hub and through our preschool program, we also partner with them to refer them to a parent navigator, so that helps them find resources also. And I also work closely with the Willamette ESD, so if there's any referrals that need to be done, I help the families with those as well.
I believe they're in the process of hiring a behavior.
Yes, we did open up a position for a behavior analyst. We have not had anybody yet, but that is also in the plans, and we are looking for somebody because we know that there is a need for behavior support in both early child education and in elementary. And so we're really hoping to find somebody that can support more in the preschool and kindergarten levels.
So more is that age 3 that you serve?
Yes, we start at age 3. Yes.
I think the entire state is considered a childcare desert. The last time they did an analysis recently. What is our plan to expand classrooms and our opportunities for families?
At this point, I don't see any per se right now. I know we just, 2 years ago, we expanded our preschool. We went from 2 preschool promise classrooms to 4. Plus also the new Title I classrooms. So we have expanded, I would say kind of doubled our capacity in the last 2 years. So right now recently, we haven't really touched on that yet right now, but I mean, it could be a possibility because I know that there isn't a great need for it.
We have a wait list.
We do not for Preschool Promise have a wait list because for the Preschool Promise, we work together, like I said, with the Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub. So when there is a wait list, they usually work and try to accommodate the family at a different place if we don't have the space. We do have a waiting list for a Title I, which is the families that don't qualify for the income-based programs. We do have and we prioritize the students who are 4 years old and are transitioning into kindergarten. But if there are openings, then we will bring in 3-year-olds as well. But we do have a waiting list for both in the Russian program and our Spanish dual program.
How many students are we virtually are we?
In total, or we have a total of 108 so far. Yeah, so yeah.
So it's about 20 kids per classroom.
About, yeah. Plus we have the teen parent program at the high schools.
Do we have an idea of how many younger students we're looking at for this meeting year? I think that's the question.
We were finally starting to see a bounce back at kindergarten for a few years there. The enrollment at the elementary schools was actually dropping because we had larger classes leaving and just not a lot of kindergartners coming in. We've been running in the high 300s, so 370, 360 has been pretty consistent, which is, compared to like our middle school grades and our high school grades, which are over 400. So it's we're not sure where the dynamic is shifting community wide. We've done the outreach. We are up some at kindergarten. I think we were down in the low 300s, around 325 for a couple of years there during the pandemic. So we're making a comeback, but we definitely just district wide have more students graduating out each year that are coming in as kindergartners. So then you see that in the enrollment trends.
So we still have a little bit over 100 to prepare the kindergarten. So do we have an idea of how many of our students going to kindergarten, like attended preschool in the past?
We know.
Question we asked.
We know from the MAP assessment, actually mathematics is an area where we saw quite a bit of growth as far as the average performance. So our kindergarten group, when we did the assessment in the fall last year, actually scored about average. So in mathematics, I should say, mathematics specifically. And I think that's a big, I think we need to give some credit definitely to our preschool programs. So we don't see a large gap with our incoming kindergarten students in math skills compared nationwide with other kindergartners. We do have more of a gap with reading, but I know that we saw some real promising growth last year that probably a combination of some strong preschool preparation coming in, and also I know there were some curricular changes at K1 in the elementary schools, and we saw some growth over the course of the year as well with kindergartners. So we're definitely mathematics wise though, our kindergartners are coming in pretty comparable to their peers across the country, which is nice to see.
And that is a question that is asked when parents register for kindergarten. They ask them if they've attended any preschool programs, and the parents say no. Then when we start planning for summer school, those are the first children that we usually prioritize and invite when we plan for summer school, so that we can kind of give them a jump start before they start kindergarten.
We also had the formal Kinder Jumpstart program that we received a grant for in August that ran in all of the schools. And our department also supported those schools. In fact, after school club, they're very humble, but just, the nutrition services was not going to be open during those weeks. And after school club actually did the meal service for I believe it was 268 kindergartners came. We just did a meeting with ODE reviewing it, and they were astounded by the numbers of students that we got in, how many parent engagement hours, and that's really the schools really led those efforts, but with support again from our department district wide. So 268 of our incoming kinders had either a week or 2 weeks of kindergarten prep coming in, getting to know their schools in their actual schools too. So it's an exciting things happening. So I think we have a second goal. I know we're running a little low on time. So much to talk about, but so again, our second goal, and we'll kind of stick at a little bit more global level here, is really about engaging family and community members, actively participating in activities and having a voice in decision making. The Youth Truth Survey, this was actually a finding we saw district wide and at schools, which is overall parents reported they feel welcome in schools, they feel respected by schools. But we saw a drop across the board in parents that reported that they felt like they had an active role in meaningful decision making in their schools. So that is a real focus district wide. You'll see it as schools begin to present their school improvement plans, that the majority of schools have a goal around engaging more parents in meaningful decision making. There's been a real push district wide as far as just communicating with families, and I know you'll see in some of the newsletters, Bridge Prairie has been doing it, is asking parents for feedback on a regular basis, just getting in the habit of collecting that in a way that is easy and accessible for parents. So as our department, our goal is to see regular participation in parent leadership groups increase by 10% or more. We're hoping to see that the positive parent responses on the Youth Truth Survey about decision-making and taking an active role in the school increase by 10%. And we really want to close that gap between, I mean, we still want our families to feel welcome in the schools. We want that to stay high, but we'd like to see more families feeling like they have a role in making really meaningful decisions. And I think our DPAC is a great example of giving parents training about how to, have a voice. They review our summer school plans, they review budgets for the district. And Nadia has made a real effort to make sure that all of our schools have parent representatives on the DPAC. So what that does is it creates also a pool of parents who can then take the knowledge that they have, the skills that they have in facilitation and leadership, and be able to take that out to their schools as well. And I know that school principals have asked for, Nadia created a list that listed all the parents who are involved in the DPAC and what schools their children attend. And principals have been asking for that because it gives them some really active, engaged parents who they can reach out to when they're trying to build more parent engagement at the school level as well. So there's some exciting things happening. As always, our department is also there to help with outreach. So when we're doing a district push for parent feedback, we will frequently host call-in parties in the evenings or on weekends to reach out to families that schools haven't been able to reach. We will help families who may struggle to complete maybe a survey that's a written survey, allow them to complete it over the phone or verbally or to get help with it. And I think we see that in families that come and seek out Nadia, not just about DPAC related things, but when that trust, sometimes more maybe than yes, but they're reaching out for other needs as well. And I'd say the same thing about our preschool and after school club, that for a lot of our working families, the after school club that's the adult in the school system that they see on a regular basis. And when something is happening at home, there's a crisis in the family, it's frequently the after school club is the first people that they reach out to for help and assistance. I have seen these ladies go to people's workplaces and help them, when the schools are struggling to get paperwork completed, or they need help, you know, a family needs help getting something, some documents completed for the school, they will drive out. I personally went to Pizza Hut one night and we met with a parent there, so I think the being available in the evenings when families are really available is kind of maybe an underrated resource that we have. And I think we've just got an amazing team, and the Welcome Center as well, but you know, probably a little bit more about that. We did include the beginning slides that we sort of passed over, does have staffing and student information if you have questions about capacity and participation, but that is I think going to be the bulk of our time. There's also a little bit of information about other goals that are supported by these programs that aren't necessarily our primary department goals, but the way that the other programs support other strategic planning goals as well. So you can review those at your leisure as well.
I guess I'm just curious as to what's the response like for feedback? Are they pretty responsive when you guys reach out for feedback?
Phone calls are very effective at reaching folks. I think we have the Welcome Center team. We also partner with all the home to school contacts, so they spend time in the Welcome Center as well. But when we do a calling party, we've got a crew of people that comes in and they reach the unreachable parents. I'm incredibly impressed. When we were going through distance learning, I think that was really where we saw it in action when we were trying to find out. We truly had to speak to every single parent in the district and find out what their plans were as far as coming back to school or remaining at distance learning. And we reached every single family, 3,100 families that year. So if we give families multiple ways to engage, parent engagement is really strong. And I think that's what it's about, is being able to provide families a way that they can engage. It's something that we don't want it to be a burden on the family to have to figure out how to communicate with us or to share what they need. We really try to take the burden on us to figure out what's the time, the place, and the medium to reach those families. The Youth Truth, we had pretty good turnout on that. We're hoping to have even more this year. But parents were open and shared a lot, and I think that's going to be useful, nice longitudinal data, because we're going to have our third year with the survey this year, and I know that's been a big focus for Superintendent Larios. We've talked about it in our admin meetings, and those are measures that we're looking closely at, and so we're pretty excited about it.
My question is, so I heard you mention BPAC, which I think is a wonderful program, and it offers parents the opportunity to not just be involved, but to be leaders in our community. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but that is a program only for migrant families who participate and qualify as migrant families.
Migrant and
Migrant and other families that are not migrant. We have to have in the DPAC at least 60% of the members have to be migrant.
Okay.
And the rest can be anybody, honestly.
So would you say that our DPAC kind of equally represents all of our families in our district, from migrant to non-migrant, so Latinos to non-Latinos to?
No Latinos, I do not have very many, but I would say that that's the only and it's not for lack of efforts. In all the events that we have a table where we're trying to recruit parents to be either part of the DPAC or be part of the schools, the site councils where they can also participate. But at this moment, most of all the parents are either migrant or of Latino descent.
So if a parent was interested in participating in DPAC, how would they go about it?
They would just call the Welcome Center and said, I would like to be part of the DPAC, and we would be calling them back and inviting them to a meeting. It's very simple.
And what are those meetings like?
We have a meeting once a month, and there's some requirements by the government that we have to have certain meetings. So But, so what we do is that at the end of the school year, we create our calendar for the following year. And we know that we have to have, certain things like assurances and bylaws and budget meetings. So besides those meetings, we probably at the end of the year, we might have 23 meetings, you know, with the parents. Some of those are required by government and the others, we look at the topics that they're interested in. And we either facilitate those or we look for facilitators. You know, if, you know, we're not referring to provide them with the information, we look for those facilitators and we bring them in. And they come and they present to the parents. So. And it's all about what they're interested in. A lot of them were interested in, you know, the fights in the high school or migrant changes in the program. So mental health. So we have brought different people to come in and actually, we have cyberbullying. So we collaborate among all the different schools and we bring facilitators to find those answers for them.
I think the goal also with our new parent involvement specialists, they're actually coordinating as a team, so they worked on the middle school program that you mentioned attending. But the idea is we also want to build that same type of capacity, that true leadership, talking about meaningful things, not just planning the carnival, which is exciting, everybody loves the carnival, but really being able to talk about what should we prioritize in our budget, what are the things that parents are concerned about. What do they need assistance with? What do they feel that their students need assistance with? So the goal is really to build that same kind of capacity at the school levels as well. So we already have our parent involvement specialists who are out and working, and they're trying to build that same level of capacity. And I think you know, leaders emerge from those types of groups as well. And I think that's where we can find some collective leaders who are passionate, who want to be involved, and I see some really positive movement that's happening at the schools as well. So I think I think the whole idea of this was how are we working in conjunction with the schools. We want that same level of leadership, strength, and voice happening at every school, as well as the district level, and that those groups can work hand in hand.
I think this team, the second goal there, that you shared about is the references to that exactly. It's
Yes.
the capacity within our schools to be able to engage our families at those meaningful levels. So it's team organizing to support that and build that in our spaces so that we see those positive impacts happening in order to measure it and know that we're making positive interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Included more slides than we probably needed, but there's some great information in there. If you have any questions, come up.
Thank
You know where to find us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really.
Good evening. President, board members. You have seen the presentation in front of you, and you're going to see some themes, you're going to hear some themes. Kind of based upon our department, even with the department you just heard, and then you talk about the schools. A lot of the areas that focus are on things that we heard both from the school board last year. You're going to hear reference again to youth truth surveys with parents and families. It doesn't mean that all the million other things that aren't going on, that they're still not a priority, but we were asked to share tonight. We're kind of some significant shifts and changes and trying to priorities to help move the mission forward. So who we are as in our department is, we're facilities, we're maintenance, we're transportation, we're safety, and all those elements. A lot of the partnerships and the work we do within our department are with outside organizations, police department, fire department, the city, coordinating different kinds of events. And our department expanded this year. Superintendent Laura has asked us to take on communication, and Rachel. I get to work with Rachel. And you'll see real quick, one of the focuses that we were focusing on, same thing that Ms. Dixon was talking about within the strategic plan is around families and community members, getting them to actively participate in decision making, actively participate in school activities. And with the integrated plan, kind of, I think the key is to sustain what we're doing, sustain that culture of engagement. And we read through the Youth Truth Survey, and it was apparent that we really need to focus on our communication output, our communication structures. And so our first area of focus that we jumped right into starting in August was communication. When we sat down and Superintendent Moreno said, what are we going to do to get the message out, to get our parents actively engaged? And using the expertise that we have with Rachel, we're first of all, this is trying to drastically increase our communication output from the district. We work with all the departments. They want us to post something with the parent involvement specialists, with the event we had at Country Square Dollar, helping communicate, helping push, helping organize. And we are going to use social media. I'll get to that's not the only thing, but it was a tool that we already had started with our families. There was some positive feedback from the Youth Truth about the use of social media, but we weren't putting out nearly the output that we needed. Last year, we were probably putting out, a post a week, something maybe. And if, I really hope you're all following us, but we're looking at 2 to 3 posts a day sometimes now. I
You
mean,
post on the weekends.
we do post on the weekends, right? And and the funny one about the weekends, and we were talking about that, Rachel and I, we walked up to our office where we both work. I'm old and a little bit old school. There's 2 big whiteboards, even in the time of digital era, and it has this week, next week, and we put all of our posts, what we're gonna do, and then it has a monthly calendar. And actually, the new parent involvement specialist was up there, and I told her, hey, get a pen, write something, if you want something out, you have a question, write on the board, it's gonna be. We push out Saturday, we push out the menus, because some families want to be able to plan what they're gonna feed their kids, and my kid's gonna, oh, that's gross, I don't want that, so you can make a lunch. And then we pushed out on Sundays, we push out the coming events. And then we also will do some other things, push out athletic events. So you'll see some of the posts that are logistics. They're just really logistics. You'll see the reels. We try to do a flashback Friday where people, those are the most popular ones, those ones that people share. That's what's getting them hooked up. And then you saw, I think today was Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. This is the play that's coming, that went out. And this is a big senior week for athletics. So everything, we're really trying to create a standardization, a place where people can go. And the shift that our department is doing around that, we're trying to standardize that into buildings. And so I'll get that to a little bit later. We're trying to create a standard so it's easier. Also met with all admin in August, and we talked about, it was very clear in the Youth Truth that parents, they take this wrong, Superintendent Morris, they love to hear from you, but they really like to hear from their schools. They like to hear from their buildings, what's going at their buildings. They like the district level, but they love the building level. So again, helping them send out weekly newsletters to their families, weekly newsletters to their staff. And we received positive feedback from community members. I hear in my notes, and I check, are you getting your weekly newsletter? Yes, we get our newsletter. We are going to return mailers. And if you remember way back when, we used to get the district mailers, and had a number of people call me and say, how do I get district information if I don't have a kid in the school district? I was like, that's a really good question. How do you get it? And they're like, we're not on any kind of mailer. So we have our list, and you're going to get a postcard in the mail. It's going to, one side is going to say connect. We're going to try to get people to get social media because it's the fastest way we can get your information. But we realize it's not for everybody. So the other third primary member, I have Tatiana, who is a part-time program secretary for us. She gets to, we're gonna put her number, and people are gonna call that number, and they're gonna give her their name, their address, and if they have a child in the school. And we're gonna start to create a master list, because I've heard from the board level, what do we do for parents that don't use social media? What do we do for parents who don't use email? Well, we're gonna create a master list of that, and we can share it to schools, we can share it with other kind of organizations when they're doing something. And then we can be strategic about mailing out things, because it is relatively expensive to do mailers. So we want to be strategic, but we still want to push out periodic information to people in the format they want. We're going to try to help people understand and access social media. But it can't be the primary and only tool, because we do have a significant part of the population that do like games. So you're gonna see a return of the mailers in a very kind of calculated, coordinated way. And again, rather than mail it to everybody, we'll mail it specifically to the people that we can't convince to do social media. Hopefully dial that back the cost for the district and get people the information in the way that they need. But we do, in this age of social media, if you're waiting for a mailer, I mean, how many people think it's just needing? A lot of people don't check their mail every day. They don't just go get it. So it's one of those things where we need to get people, their kids are accessing information on a daily basis. They're getting information on a daily basis. We really want to help our parents access that. And that's all great and dandy, but if we don't build structures, then we won't be able to sustain this. So the second part of this area of focus for the school is to help build site-based communication structures. So I talked about standardization. It's really important as a system that everybody understands the tools and similar tools. Because then when we talk amongst ourselves, everything is seamless. And we have each different location doing a different format for a newsletter, different format for our parents. It's hard for our parents sometimes, but it's also hard for us even within our system. So we go to each of our sites, deploy embedded, ongoing, weekly support, specifically around communication. We're setting up so that every school has a business Facebook and a business Instagram page. We use a program called Meta Business Suite, in which you can post in one location and post everywhere. Rachel's doing a phenomenal job as our district admin on getting a person at each site that understands that system. And we want redundancy, so there's multiple people that know how to do that. So if somebody leaves, somebody can step in and fill that in. If somebody's sick, we have to move somebody knows how to do it. We're using Canva as the primary tool to design things. We're using Snore as the primary tool for our newsletters. And we're providing training to multiple people so we can all communicate on those platforms. And then the schools push them out via Remind or Class Dojo or the later. But it's important to create those structures because they hadn't existed. Schools were really good at it if they had somebody that was good at it and they had somebody that knew it. But if that person title shifted or something shifted and we didn't create that structure, and they didn't have somebody like Rachel or like our department coming in and working with them, if you don't stay up to date on technology, you're going to fall behind really, really quick on it. So we didn't want it to be something that we just said buildings do it and then we're not going and supporting, we're trying to support them as well. And then the other one is just, this was something that Superintendent Barrios and the board both said, increasing our presence in community organizations. So be it the putt golf we did, we're got to stand and spike the bulldog and wave at people. It was really fun. The parade, we just did the firehouse safety. All those are opportunities for us to share our message and get out in the community and show people that we're invested in not just the education, but we're also invested in the community and growing an active partnership within that community. I think we have a trunk or treat on Saturday. You can come visit us at trunk or treat, and then the high school can safe trick or treat. That was posted on social media as well. And we have activity starting on downtown. So if you have activities or you hear things in the community going on like that, you can email, shoot me an email, we'll get them in there, get them going. We're really trying to, Jesse's kind of my man at the city, so he shoots me all the stuff that's going on in the city. We're trying to get more of a community vibe where, and we have a lot of really good volunteers who run community pages who give me the ins and the outs on the social medias that they're doing around town.
Can I ask a question in regards to communication? Is there any collaboration with the local radio, the Queens radio station?
Rachel goes on there, I think Juan goes on there. Yeah, so there's ongoing conversations when they go in. Yes, sir. Sorry.
No, I didn't know. So like,
No, I was I'm probably not getting everything, but I was trying to get the focus, and I really wanted it to resonate that we were taking the youth to what our families told us, and we're trying to shift how we do business. And kind of meet them where they're at and get them as much information as we can.
So this is how we send information out. Community. How does it come back? How do we get to see communication? from parents?
So if it was coming from a parent, our communication is contact your school principal, your administration. If you have a question, you have a concern, you have a comment, you have a suggestion. You start with there. If it's more about a district program, then oftentimes Tatiana will get that call here and then she'll let me know. Well, I'll either call the parent back. We've tried to share out for transportation, because I get a lot of calls about buses. And asking to shift routes and what they're getting dropped and things like that, so we're constantly shuffling that. So from the district level, Tatiana gets a lot of those calls as the number of the district. But we really are trying to get parents to contact, if it's their building, then they really need to contact their building. If a parent calls, we don't want to say, sorry, that's not us. So you listen, try to help them, and then partner with them to get to that school, help navigate that. And that's why on the social media, one of the things you saw that we pushed out several times, school contact info. Because I heard, as when everybody knows this, when you go shopping, people say, well, why can't I find the school phone number? Why can't I find that? Why can't I? Right? You guys, I hear it when I'm out shopping, so you'll see it in every newsletter. It's gonna have that we send out, because the other thing that we're doing is the monthly newsletter that goes out too. It'll have school contact information. And you'll periodically see those get recycled on this. As a matter of fact, I had community members the other day. They were saying that they appreciated it, even if they couldn't look at the post, they knew now that if they went back, there's predictability on what they can find around events, like you said, what's for lunch. So they now feel good that there is a place that they can go to get what should be pretty routine information. And so I think that as we build better structure at the district level, and as we get more consistent, because we're really consistent at the building level, those logistical questions that really should be non-issues will go away, and we can then start to engage in the more meaningful ones that we were talking about earlier. Site councils, safety committee sense of that. The next area of focus, you guys are probably well aware of, is volunteers. And so I heard this a lot last year, and we looked at the process and said, okay, yes, there are Senate bills around new mandatory trainings we have to do, but what are the artificial barriers that those are creating that families they're not willing and can't and don't know how to do it? So one of the first things we took away was Vector Solution Safe School module, which it required them to log in. They had to get an account, they had to sign in, they had to print it. It all sounds good, and from a legal standpoint, it's bulletproof. It's the best thing you can do. But there was a lot of people that start that process, and they're like, I'm done. I just want to go see my kid in school. And so Tatiana worked with me really hard trying to create multilingual PowerPoints, but multilingual sign-in sheets so they can access them, so it's easier for our homeschool contacts to get them. We also expedited the process with digital processing. It's also brought to my a concern about losing some of that confidential material going back and through the courier. We have a courier that we do that. So we got rid of that. It all stays at the site. It's securely emailed over, and then it's kept there, so we're not sharing that stuff. It's also faster, because if you send me your application and you didn't want to, you forgot a birthday, or you just left something blank, it takes 3 days to get it from the courier to me. They send it back. Somebody sends it back to have you fill it out or whatever. It could take 3 more days for that. So that's a week just to get that. And it's just time the parents again. That's after they tried to navigate all the training. And now this, there were just artificial barriers that were slowing the process. And then we created a communication push. We started pushing out these flyers. If you've been in schools, we gave them to schools starting in August, asked them to push them up everywhere. We've pushed them out on social media. In a moment of genius, when I created one of these, I put the QR code on the social media posts. And then I was laying in bed at night and I'm like, so if I'm on my phone looking at an Instagram page, how am I going to take a picture of the QR code on the front of my phone? So we were like, that's probably not going to work the best. So we pushed those out. We handed them out at all the community events we go to, try to hand those flyers out. Last year at this time, we had 90 volunteer applications. And this year at this time, we have 210. So we're seeing a drastic increase in people accessing. Our homeschool contacts are pushing them out of the parent meetings. I hear people talking about it. I've asked them to be pushed out in newsletters, just guys, copy my small page. And put it in yours. And that's the beauty of the newsletters, and you can hear the admin talk about it, because they're sharing theirs, because we want there to be a level of consistency, like there are some things that are school specific, but there should be some things that should be common trends, volunteer process, how to do these, so they're sharing their newsletters with each other, which only makes each of their newsletters better, because I can go, oh, man, I'm stealing that, that's a good one, that's gonna go on my next one. Oh, I forgot about that, I should put that. So what we don't want, we don't want a parent who has a kid at Nellie, maybe one at Valor, and then one at high school, and the newsletters don't have a thread or a consistency that goes through it, and any kind of miscommunication can confuse the parent. So, and we're just going to continue recruiting volunteers as many as we can. Absolutely critical in what we do. And I see Ms. LL at the high school every day for lunch, volunteering at lunch. And, she's kind of one of the critical people I use to help me push stuff out, and she gives me kind of a feedback on how it's being received. So our volunteers are a great source of kind of information as we go through.
And so how long is it taking them to process?
Well, the part that we can control is once it's submitted and we submit it, that part's pretty good. The fingerprinting can take a week to 2 weeks. In fact, sometimes if they said they're hiring more people and then it should be expedited, it should be faster. So, I mean, if we get it and once we send it, we're getting them right now, we're getting them relatively quick. So, trying to get rid of the horse story, it took me 3 weeks, it took me a month, it took me whatever. Now, I know that the fingerprint thing was backed up, but we haven't seen that. Most of the hangups were really on completing all the documents and getting all the documents kind of aligned, and we, like I said, we streamlined that process so they're all really kind of interconnected so that they can come in easier from families. So again, that with those two things, with the communication, trying to be responsive to what we're hearing, and the volunteerism, trying to be responsive, and then really the proof is going to be in putting of the youth truth survey. So when we send out the youth truth survey, you feel like you're getting more communication. I think now we're going to be probably around December where we can say it's not the amount of communication and it's not how we're communication. Maybe now we really have to look at being very specific. So what do you want us to communicate? You've probably seen some things that and those come from what we are getting some feedback, like we want to know about safety processes. We want to know about, there's a big one on bus because we're doing the first few bus. So we tried to push that out the first few. So there was a lot of calls about bus routes, where's my bus? And so this is an opportunity where parents can track a bus. Matter of fact, I got a call right before here that a bus was running late because of sand. If we can just get everybody on that first view that physically can't, not everybody can make it that, but the vast majority of our families do have at least an access to a smartphone. And if they can download that app and they can see where that bus is, how far it is away, it's a really, really cool feature. Now, I will tell you, that's not our app. We don't monitor it. I don't know if I've spoke about that app before. First student, who's our transportation. I can't say enough about the management, so they're very good, easy to work with. They brought First View to us last year. They wanted to do it. And the problem we had with it is they were unwilling to offer native language support. And so they're, we have Google Translate. and I was like, that's just not going to work. If you've ever tried, I've tried to use Google Translate and it's just, and so I had several meetings with, they kept kicking me up the ladder. And finally, I got to the last person. I said, you know, in our community, having that native language, if you're going to tell me that the number that they need to call for help to set this up doesn't have the availability to talk in multiple languages, we're never going to get it to take off. And they actually hired bilingual people to actually support that line specifically as we roll this out, so people could actually call that. So I'm very grateful for First Student. They didn't have to do that. They could decide. Big.
Okay.
Okay.
Paper on off.
Robin's still here? I wanted to check on it. But they didn't have to do that, and they chose to, so it's a good thing.
That is a nice feature, because sometimes,
Do you have it?
no, my kids used to ride a bus.
Oh.
I have some incidents where they got lost.
You know, and the other thing is, it's really good for, so this, how it used to work, and it would happen every day, is a bus was late, or there was an accident, or it didn't show up, or the kid didn't get dropped off. And so the buildings, the first thing they would do, they call me, which is fine, I would call Tammy. Tammy and I would try to figure it out, then we'd have to go look at cameras, and 9 times out of 10, like the bus was late or this, so they push out, hey, bus 15 is running late. Want to let you know, or bus 15 broke down, and it pushes and it goes to the parents on their phone, so they instantaneously, nothing is scarier than trying to talk with a parent when it's dark outside and their kid should have been dropped off and they're not there yet. And so it can be a peace of mind for a parent. Oh, this one was, the bus was late. It was just late. There was just a situation. If you try to drive around Woodburn lately on the roads, the traffic is outrageous and people are parking all over the place, and the buses have to navigate that, so it just takes less time. And so this bus was just like nothing bad had happened, but the parent was frantic. And so I was talking with the principal, said, hey, we see if this parent has this phone, let's get her connected tomorrow with somebody so she can have peace of mind going forward, so she doesn't have the experience. So just trying to find those kinds of communication pieces, right? Because it's a form of communication. It's, to most parents, they love it. Anyway, I digress. I think that's all I have on it, isn't it? So, again, not a complete overview of everything, but really our areas of focus. Trying to be responsive to what we heard from the board, trying to be very responsive to what we heard in the U2 survey, and trying to build those structures so we get to more meaningful conversations and people feel heard. See you, Dr. Feet.
Thank you.
Come on down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the fact that next item on the agenda. Business comments, Good evening, everyone.
Good.
I feel like I'm gonna be such a disappointment after those presentations. So you have your typical financial report with you. This is your first one of the year. We don't typically bring one forward at the September meeting because nothing has really happened yet. Payroll hasn't been run. So there's no encumbrances. So this is really the first glimpse that you're getting so far this year. Just to walk through, as a reminder, because it has been for a while, or it's been a while. In the left-hand column, you're seeing the 23-24 budget. And that was adopted, oh, and I see a typo already, this last spring. Spent year to date is spent through the September 30th, 2023 on this report. The amount that's encumbered is any expenditure that's already been planned for or set aside. Our accounting system takes that amount and sets aside for it. So after payroll is run each month, the amount from the encumbered for that month moves over to spent year to date. So essentially it's a placeholder, so we don't overspend in certain categories. So after the September payroll, all payroll expenses for the year encumbered, so it's set aside. So it's, you know, you have an expense coming up in your personal checking account, so you set aside funds for it. Same thing here. Encumbered is also purchase orders that schools and departments have put in already for purchases they know they're going to be making, to set those funds aside already. And we're about where we typically are at. We have spent about 2% more of our budget than we did in the prior year. So nothing out of the ordinary. It's like 1.87% difference. So we're right on par for where we should be. Next week is our financial audit for the business office. So every year we are audited by an independent agency to come in and look at all of our books. So they'll be looking at the 22-23 revenue and expenditures. So that'll be happening next week. So some of the numbers you see for beginning fund balance, for example,
are subject to change based upon any entry they want to do. Are there any questions about that?
I'm gonna firm thing that as our audit.
Holly Rogers.
Yeah, thank you. So, just to make sure I'm reading this correctly,
Absolutely.
our ending fund balance at the end of the year is projected to be 6.7.
The 6.5, that's what we've set aside for next year. So essentially, there's board policy that we have a fund balance of between 5 and 10% of operating revenue. This falls within that category. So we're saying we're setting aside that money. We know we need money to start up the following fiscal year. So that would be 24, 25. Gosh, I'm in several fiscal years in my mind right now. So we set that aside because we know we need money up front to start the following year. So that's what that is. Have we ever in my career spent 100% of what we budgeted? No. That amount will come in higher in the following year.
I mean, some very welcome enrollment figures have come in.
They're a little misleading, though, I will be honest with you, in going back through right now. At the elementary level, we actually only have 2156 in enrollment, so we are up quite a bit. I forget who was asking about the kindergarten numbers. But today we are up in our kinder enrollment, and Jen was real close. She said 370 and we're at 371 today, so. So that's fantastic. So we are up in our kinder enrollment. Our K-5 enrollment is up overall, so that's fantastic. It has been down significantly in the past several years.
So you said is that 2021?
2156 is our in-person enrollment, right?
Okay, so why does it say 23?
So one of the issues with how we run this report is we look at a snapshot in time. We look at the number of students that are there presently on that day. It's an attendance figure, not actual like average daily attendance. So right now, the 2156 is what we have enrolled in our K-5. We're going to look at our class first.
Okay. So on that day, we had students showing up to school that aren't.
That's what was reported to me. And in looking at that, honestly, I think that number might be incorrect. So I'm more confident in the 2156 number.
Okay, because then if this is
Because that's
correct in the 21,
significant.
if you think it's correct, that means we had 150 students drop out and.
No, I don't believe that's the case. I think the number was incorrect. No, Arthur's on a separate line. So Arthur enrollment is up as well. So Arthur Academy is our charter school. Why their enrollment is important is those are kids that belong and reside in our district. They'll generally come back over to our school 6 through 12. We receive their state school fund on their behalf and we pass it to them. So that's why we include them in our enrollment numbers because we report them to ODE as well. Questions or things you might want to see going forward? And I do want to touch back on this, again, since it's our first meeting. When you look at the booklet and we see the 50 to 100 pages of detail in it, and it's rolled up into a 2-page little sheet here. This is a very high level overview. Underneath it is object codes, which delineates more of how we spend the money. There's funds that are allocated specifically to buildings. And this is just the general fund, not any of the special revenue funds like Title I, for example, or the after school fund budget. Those are separate grants.
But those are grants, so they're not gonna be in this number.
They're not gonna be in this number. This is strictly general fund, and general fund is based. The expenditures and revenue are based mainly upon our state school fund revenue and our property tax revenue. And state school fund is driven by our.
But that will increase with all the new houses going up. This will.
Not necessarily. I mean, the new houses have been coming in for several years and we haven't seen an uptick in our enrollment. We've had some enrollment studies done that projected an increase in our enrollment over time, but then with a significant drop in our enrollment at like, I believe it was the 8-year mark. So. No, we honestly really haven't seen much impact from in our enrollment from the added homes. It does increase our property tax base, however. So we will see an increase over time in the property taxes that are collected. However, something unique with our state school fund is our state school fund is based upon our enrollment. And then it tracks out the amount we receive from property taxes to equalize the amount of state school fund we get across the state. So in school districts that are quite wealthy, like Lake Oswego, for example, they don't get a huge boost because of their property values. The state subtracting that property tax amount out, kind of equalize it. The amounts, or for example, when the timber industry was really booming in like Tillamook School District, they didn't even receive state school fund for several years because their timber revenue covered the amount that they would have received in state school fund. And again, it's just to equalize it across the playing field, so you don't have necessarily districts that have and have not. And I understand there's much more that goes into that, but from a calculation perspective, that's what the calculation is based on.
I will add, I had a county assessor come by my house yesterday.
Uh-oh.
I was like, I don't know, it's the first time ever having the county assessor come out.
It's not often that they do that. Occasionally they'll find pockets that they want to reevaluate and they'll adjust assessed values, but not too often. And it's usually not significant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So next item on our agenda, confirmation items presented as follows. We have meeting minutes for October 12th, as well as September 26th. Personnel, acceptance of donations, surplus property disposal report, and funding proposals. Do you have any questions?
I move to approve the confirmation items as presented.
Second.
On favor to. Say
Hi.
Thank you. Now moving on to board action items, we have new business. Secretary of the Division 22, Superintendent Myers, Division 22.
Would invite Director Chapman to share a little bit about the annual report that's presented to the board around Division 22, where we are as a district, some of the actions that we're taking moving forward.
Hi, good evening, Charlotte Gosby, Superintendent Larios, and board members. So you have a memo that outlines Division 22. I gave you the information on kind of the requirements of it, and then the full report of where we are as a district, which will be posted to our website by November 1st, and then reported to ODE by November 15th. And so if you have any questions about anything in there, I can answer those for you.
For the Division 22.
Yeah, as far as, yeah. Yeah, they were recently adopted, and they now, I was reading an article last week, something like that. I mean, to speak to like remedial courses. The requirements around, reading, writing, math, they were adopted post 2010. So I graduated high school in 2010 and we didn't have that test did not exist. Between whenever the test was did start in 2012, 2013, something like that. So say a student passed the test, went into take remedial courses, or went into post-secondary education. The most recent data suggests that there was no correlation between a student passing that test and being prepared for post-secondary education. So it's not necessarily the test that is an issue, because for the last for that era, 5 years, something like that, from 2012, 20. Complete with passing grades. And the test that existed, it only existed for 5 years or something like that. Like, it's not something that was even established for more than a decade.
There's something complicated. I didn't mention the root cause. So passing grade is deep. And so, whether our students get a good grade or not, and they want to go to track there, and then they go to trade school, and they have a test, and they're faced for the writing question, or under college level class, and they're not placing. So that's my concern.
And so will this also reflect on the graduation success rates based on Woodward's data in the upcoming years? Will it be like just make it grow exponentially? I mean, increase the rate of graduation because of the standards?
We've not seen an increase in our graduation rates since the standard was suspended. That's the assessments.
I guess I got another question in regards to that, because I was just thinking, so will that take away some of the accountability for the students, knowing that, okay, if I can pass this, even though it's not required, is there some students that you think have shown in the data, I guess, if there's data for it, that have just kind of just disregarded, not putting as much effort into it? Does that make sense? Like, knowing that these standards are in place, now they don't have to put that much more effort into their work. If you follow what I mean, like, just be like, okay, since there's nothing that I have to shoot for, that's the wrong verbiage, but because I don't have to work as hard, I guess, with these standards, has there been any difference in that regard with the students' success rates as far as effort?
I think I just need to teach it pass
Yeah.
and graduate.
Yeah, part of the work that we're engaging in with our students is that, what is their post-secondary plan? Beginning in middle school level, what are they aspiring to? What's their is the college, is the university, is the trade, and then what does it take to get there? So those conversations are happening early on with students, so that they're, fully engaging and being aware. If I'm aspiring to go to university, if I'm aspiring for as a dean, my transfer isn't gonna look so great, I'm applying for faculty scholarships, and so it's like, again, building that, but. Within the student, their awareness and their efficacy that where they're lining up what they're doing now with where they're aspiring to be. But the standards themselves, we haven't seen an increase in our graduation rate since the assessment has been suspended. So the students still have to demonstrate the same level of work in their classes to earn their grades regardless of the assessment.
I think two other ways that I think about it is. One assessment, their senior, whenever they take it, is a snapshot in time, right? I would much rather prefer an assessment over the course of 4 years, where students receive credit their freshman year. Have to pass classes again their sophomore year, have to pass classes again their junior year, have to pass classes their senior year. You have 4 years, 24 credits of quote unquote assessments. They have to get a passing grade from their teacher, rather than a one-time snapshot. Because we're talking about a student, hypothetically, we bring up student examples of a student with a D, but we can also have a student who has a 4.0, who for some reason had a bad day when they took a test, and now we have a high school student who with a 4.0 GPA didn't pass an assessment. Do we not give that student a diploma?
Oh, they retake, I'm sure there's opportunities for retake. I mean, is it just like a one-time? When it was available, I mean, they just take it once and if they didn't pass, that's it.
Yeah, when we had the essential skills requirement, there were different ways that students could meet it. They could meet it through a work sample, they could meet it through the state assessment. And so there were different ways that it could be met. And so they'll be revamping that system and putting something different into place in the future.
So by 2028, they'll have a different one.
That's their plan. The plan is to have a plan.
You know, when they did that, if they talked about what their process will be for facilitating feedback, I mean. The plans have a plan, what is the plan for the plan to have a plan?
Yeah, I mean, lately ODE's been engaging with a lot of different community partners, that they engage with regularly with school districts. They've been doing pretty comprehensive processes lately to create these new systems that they're putting into place.
Yeah, leading up to that decision that they took, there's opportunities for this, like, solicit feedback from the state on whether or not or how to proceed. So that we operate within what Division 22 requirements are. And so that's what we put into practice as a district. Here's what our requirements are for the state of Oregon, and here's what we move forward and how we move them forward.
I'm trying to remember back to Division 22, I think it was last year, the year before. It became more holistic in that they incorporated student success act. Division 22, is that still correct?
That would be the integrated plan. Yeah, which is kind of all the different funding sources and the different plans where our district goals have evolved from.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of connection with, the requirements that we have as a district that tie.
Otherwise, we can move on to the next. Which is the first reading of this policy update. Superintendent, I guess, Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, so we can kind of get back to your promotions tonight. Providing the policies that they can put into the board. Next month, we're going to recommend evaluate that we're talking about. So that's required tonight, the policies, and so they'll be back, it's an opportunity to review them for next month.
If you don't have any questions, we can move on to the next item. As we can review those policies at the next meeting as well. So future agenda items, do we have any requests for future agenda items? So I attended the middle school parent info night on Thursday, and there was about so if you've been to French Perry, so the entire like bleachers from the bottom was full, as was like over half of the top, so there was quite a few hundred. I would say over 200 parents there, at least just for the Spanish session. And parents had questions and they had concerns, and so my question is, like, how do we respond to parents? Like we talk about, you know, having parent engagement and parents asking questions. So I think this is an opportunity to ask, like, what's the next step? So we have parents sharing. And so how do we as a district respond to their questions and their concerns that they have? And so I think for me, I like to know what that looks like, and I think it would be good for families to know. Like when they do feel like they can ask in parent info nights, like to know like what that next step will be.
So like a report on the channel of communication and response to questions.
That, or I mean, do we offer parent forums or community forums for those concerns? And is that something that each of the building provide?
I thought that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one Thursday night was provided by the middle school, was generated by parents. They wanted to learn more about information about some specific topics, and so that was generated by the parent interest, and each of the buildings is creating, like what we heard referenced tonight, some of the parent engagement plans that are topics that the schools are interested in learning more about the parents, so they're creating those plans. And so it could be a topic that's shared by each building when they provide their school report. Here's what our parent engagement plan is looking like right now, and how we're soliciting that from our families, and then responding to it through their building plans.
Another thing would be to, like a procedure, so if parents have a conflict, what's the process? Like they would approach us like, well, we're not getting any communication. So the proper process is that paperwork of trail, of course, like who do they contact? If it didn't work with the counselor, didn't work with the teacher, and then it goes to the principal or the vice principal, then the principal, before it even gets to you or, well, to the administrative department, right? Because that's all proper procedure of getting in contact if there's a situation between a parent and a teacher and a child. Right. So.
Yeah, we always encourage people to have a conversation at the lowest level, so.
Right.
Parent, you know, the first, if it's the situation with the teacher, to have a conversation, you know, with the teacher to try to resolve it there. If the parent reaches out to a board member and you're unsure of how to, where to encourage them to seek support, you can always have them reach out to us, and we can help them get into contact with whoever that individual might be.
Something that I had a thought was, you know, because again, going back to when we were running for board and whatnot, and a lot of conversations I had is we don't feel heard. You know, one of the things that came to mind was maybe, I don't know how it worked, but even just having maybe a town hall where the parents would actually feel involved. I know they have a chance for public comment and whatnot, to speak to the board, you know, and of course there's, you know, things to consider as far as discussions and whatnot, but at least to voice concerns, to at least feel like they're being engaged, that we're drawing them in and to listen to them instead of, because, you know, we discuss things, you know, and they do public comment, but to be present with them one-on-one, you know, I think town hall type thing, just to let them feel, get that engagement and involvement. I mean,
Well, I know there was a time when the board was invited to have like tables and be present in different school events. And that could be a simple take as school events are being planned, as the board at that table there, which being engaged with families and be present. And we talked about that in terms of part of the board goal around the school visits and identifying some school events, but we could start to create a more formal way where we're giving the board a space at a table at events.
I'll just finish up, just in regards to things that may be of concern, maybe find speakers to address those issues, you know, above what we can understand, to hit those topics, you know, it could be violence, whether it be drugs, whether it be whatever, and so parents can have a better aspect, better understanding, you know, an educational system of aspect of it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, we talked about over the years how we can facilitate a town hall, and you know, and I'm sure concern of the district is, you know, what happens when a parent comes and calls an employee out by name, right? Like how can we ensure that our staff are protected and we're doing what we need to do as an employer to protect them. What we've done in the past, and I remember Casey was there. This was during Superintendent Bransom's era, I think. But it was during a time when we got two school shooting threats in 1 month. And I don't know, it was like a bomb threat, something like that. When we started the new safety plan, we had a quote unquote town hall. And it was Chuck Rantham, you were at the table, board members were at the table, but we were there for, you know, to listen, right? Like y'all were doing the document because you're the expert, we're not. But that I remember doing that at high school and, you know, thinking that was a good example. And so instead of it's like a open mic topic, instead they're topics, right? Like around student safety or around the topic, you know, we want to host this certain topic. Remember that?
Yeah, it was essentially what happened at French Prairie and, but it was. So there was a list of topics that were specific around that, and we said, you know what, we want to be very transparent with the plan and what we want there. It wasn't a town hall in the essence that you're saying. But it was more of a dialogue where they interacted. Parents could ask questions about the stuff. It wasn't. There were parameters around that we were going to talk about the process and how to make things better and try to be proactive is how we kind of frame it. So when you get into the complaint procedure, right, or anything like that, then those things we follow that board policy. There's a complaint procedure that makes sure that everything kind of keeps everybody out of trouble. But yes, we have done those kind of symposiums where we have a topic, because there were some topics that come up. Some of those will happen at site council meetings. We've done those in the past too, where you said, well, what's the avenue for parents if they have questions about the building? We've tried to funnel that through some of those site council meetings, because back to the goal around community engagement and kind of decision making. Like the site council is a pretty powerful committee of the school to help ask those questions and guide those questions. And I think that even thinking you've heard this from me, so you know, creating that structure that outlasts the people in this room, right? if we can teach people to access the site council and to access the building and use those to build those capacities, then it's not a one-off, right? It's not a one-off, then people, we're training people like, hey, go to the building. This is a good topic for discussion at the safety committee, the site council, and they can kind of build it. And then we can do bigger ones when we're saying, hey, we're seeing a trend, or this is something, I think we need to explain what the district's vision is on this to parents, so we can understand and get feedback to how to make it better. Does that make sense? So we always say, like, we have these committees that we're already organizing in school, like the DPAC and all these things, that we're trying to really empower schools to make decisions about what's going on, and how do we further promote those as the vehicles to come and ask questions about those things. So. Well, I mean, there's a time and a place to do exactly what you're talking about. There really is. I'm not saying one or the other. I'm just saying that. And site councils, they're vetting budgets, they're talking about all kinds of stuff with those parents. And yeah, those are parents that you can use then to activate other parents to come in. It's a great vehicle to be discussing things like this. And it's a great vehicle for admin to be able to have a sounding board with their parents that want to be actively engaged and say, hey, this is what I heard at the parent meeting. So for the middle schools, break down, these are some of the questions we've heard. I'm going to share it with my site council, that's going to be on board. How we're going to respond, what are we going to do, what are we going to communicate, how do we support this, and then use that kind of as a vehicle. Because those structures already exist at the district level with the DPAC, at the site level with the site council. It just seems like it could be a pretty good tool that we could use to help have some of these conversations in those areas that have processes to help them happen. So it's just maybe a thought.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions for agenda items?
I think for us, it's like more information, what's going on inside. And for me, it will be great if I could see like the site councils at every school. So I could refer parents when there's some issues. I heard what's her name? No, not Nadia, after school coordinator. Ayana. Talking about the connection, talking about what's happening inside. And for parents, so for me, that was I've seen them in action and I seen what they're capable of, but not knowing how to redirect the parents. Yeah, but I think it's a powerful tool to have the site council, because you're right, there are our sounding board.
One other thing is, the 2 empty positions for the budget committee positions that we need to consider.
You look at Jenny.
I've already, no, you haven't appointed them. You already adopted the timeline. I think this month is when I have to get them posted on the website. And then you'll soon start collecting application. That'll get pushed out soon.
Anything else?
Like I said, it's just a thought. But I'm not aware of this, but has the board done different locations for meetings? Like if you go to Nueva Amanecer, I think parents will be more prone to attending meetings, Salud. Places that people are familiar with in town that really have that connection with the clinic or something just different to, it's like, oh, Salud Medical Center, why don't we go? Or Nueva Amanecer. Or Becun, just different places.
So PG, they used to have a meeting and people knew about the PG.
I know that, Jenny's like I know it's a tech problem. potentially.
But we used to run some of focus groups or some of the administration. Administrative focus groups, different sites like Tecún, Nova Amanecer. And other sites that people were familiar.
Or just each building, right? Like, as a parent, I would feel more comfortable going to my kid's building to attend a school board meeting than the district office.
Yeah.
You know, this time the board rotated between schools and did the board meetings out of the school libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I remember those.
But just like where I'm still didn't have to show up.
Oh, really? No.
For recognizing the students, but other than that.
Unless
That's
it
good
was
to
the
know.
topic- Unless it was the topic, like in 2000 and. Was 2000 when we did the ballot? 2000 something, Valor,
97.
97. So 99, we were over there at the French Ferry Library. They were naming the school. So the library was back.
Okay,
I know
so
it was a 7 somewhere.
so it sounds like we can move on to the next item, which is board calendar. So as you will see, we have upcoming meetings for November 14th, November 28th, and December 12th. And next I will call the executive session to order. So at this time, we will reset the regular meeting from the executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6. There are two, consider information or record during set by law for public information.